Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This evening, I rise in support of my amendment to ensure that no funds will be used to require universities to enforce COVID vaccine requirements for students and faculty. My amendment is important for two reasons. First, because many universities, unbelievably so, but they are still actively mandating COVID vaccines for their students. There are students who, mind you, that were never at any serious risk of the virus. At the start of the 2023-24 school year, there were still nearly 100 universities in this country that required a COVID-19 vaccine to attend their university. Think of that. It's been about 4 years since the China virus first came to the United States. And the federal government finally declared, however, the pandemic, just back in May of this year, finally declared the pandemic was over, although for many of us, the remediation efforts were over as soon as we realized what we suspected, that the masking up and the vaccine requirements were exploited by a bureaucracy that was trying to impose their will on normal Americans. Yet so many universities are still forcing students who have likely already contracted COVID at this point. Everybody's had it by now, right? Many of whom never were sick or with symptoms, and all of whom have recovered. But in the event that they were any serious risk to begin with, didn't matter. They were required to take a vaccine that they didn't need and didn't want. The second reason this is important, my amendment to be supported, is to preemptively check the government's authority, a government that has sadly broken the trust of the American people on this and many other issues. Over the last 3 years, we've seen this government push so many unconstitutional vaccine mandates for healthcare workers, those, who treated us during the height of the virus, for government employees, for members of the military, the armed forces who were discharged for not getting a vaccine, for law enforcement officers, for first responders, and lots of other regular Americans and workers across the country. In fact, the Biden administration is still spending money to promote the COVID vaccine. And they have a program to pay for the vaccine for uninsured Americans through the end of next year, the end of 2024. We cannot assume that because the pandemic is over officially, that the anti-freedom vaccine agenda will stop. Students should be free to pursue an education without the government violating their most basic personal freedoms. I now urge all of my colleagues to support my amendment, and I reserve.